Aaron Robertson from Facebook asked a very interesting question. He said, "Tell my friend, how do you feel about free trade? Do you lean towards the belief that it gives fair competition to foreign countries? Do you see it as exploitation, or do you have a different opinion?" Um, this is a very interesting question. I give fair competition to foreign countries. And I look at the world today. I don't take anything for granted. And what I mean by that is I don't assume that everything is the way it should be. And I think many of us are now realizing this, that things are really messed up. And considering that we're thinking, intellectual uh, beings that have hearts and have souls, there's a lot of things that just don't seem right. Now, I was born in Israel, and my parents, we moved over here when I was, after right after first grade, moved to New Jersey, and still I don't fool myself into thinking that's because my life has been so posh and so, with very little poverty, instances of poverty, that the global situation is in any way okay. And I got this sense more when not really growing up I grew up in a very affluent town, but when I went to college, I took a course, something it focused on the International Monetary Fund, and it was like a combination of I was a poli sci major, so it was like political science and global economy. I forget what it was called, but it was a teacher from a third world country, I think from Trinidad and Tobago. It was a very smart guy, and he made us feel like we have no idea how spoiled we are. We have no idea how lucky we are. We have no idea how unfair the global economic climate is. This is something the more you read about, the more you realize it's true, in my opinion. Like if you look at the continent of Africa, so Africa, the standard of living there, you can't even compare it. You can't even compare it to the standard of living here. And why they also give to the world. They give the world a lot of natural resources like bauxite and certain things. But for some reason, the people don't have as good of a life as we have over here. And this is something to me that if you consider that we're all God's children, and we're all loved by God and beloved by God, and we all have the ability to share and to work together, um, it stops making sense at some point that the people here should have such a different lifestyle than people in Africa. So this is something I would say about capitalism in general, that it's really introduced nothing good to our globe. The only thing it has introduced is greed and corruption and lust and theft and all these ills. People say that money is the root of all evil. I also don't like the monetary system, but I would say that it's this concept that we can reach for the sky. Each person can have an unlimited amount, and then if you apply that to a country, you see such a great incongruence between America, let's say this United States and the continent of Africa, the way we live and who's to say who God favors more? I mean, we're all equally God's children. So I'm not a fan of capitalism or this concept. I mean, free trade. Your question isn't really about capitalism, but in general, I don't know. I just want to step back and just say that in general, capitalism for me isn't the answer to how we should be living as a globe. And I think we're in a lot of denial if we think that as much as in the '80s we had the what was it, not give peace a chance. We are the world. We had a benefit. Every once in a while, the American guilt conscious will get to the point where we have to have a benefit for Ethiopia or something, and we feel bad, and then we give them money, or we see like commercials about starving children, and we send them money. But this is a very small way to deal with this problem. A greater way would be to simply offer what we have as a country. Now at this point, it's not even money. If you look at the United Nations, they have Millennium Development Goals for the continent of Africa, and they have certain people have pledged a certain amount of money, and I think even the United States now can't even pay their pledge because things are really tough here. I mean, as much as things could be tough in a country where everyone lives like a king, but still, I think we're in a lot of denial if you think you can just live on a planet where some people are lacking so much and think that you're going to be okay in your life because you have a car and you have a house and you have this. The way the globe works is it's a very small place, and the energies, especially the spiritual energies from one part of the world, will always affect the other part of the world. And it's something that you might not be conscious of, but subconsciously it's definitely going on. And I don't know. I think it's time. It's about time. And after the Second World War, they formed the United Nations in this attempt to kind of unify mankind. And it did anything but, unfortunately, because they just weren't given enough power, even though Einstein had a nice suggestion. He said, why don't you use the United Nations atomic bomb? You think the United States would have gone into Iraq if we had the atomic bomb? If the UN would have been able to say, you want to go into Iraq, we're going to nuke Washington. Things with history would have looked a lot different, but they didn't listen to Einstein. But I don't know. In general, I just think that we're in a lot of denial if we think that we can live a certain way, like a certain lifestyle here in America, while we know, because we see in pictures, that people in other parts of the world are living much, much differently. And if we think that that's not going to catch up to us eventually, and we're not going to have to answer to that, forget about answering to people. I don't know if in my generation we're going to become so unified that we will have to answer the residents of the continent of Africa as to why we live like kings, why they live like impoverished servants. But we definitely have to answer to God. And having said that, I don't know what my answer is going to be. I mean, I always try to. I do email the United Nations, as silly as it sounds, because why not? And I suggest other people do the same thing, and just to let them know we're thinking about these things even here in America, and that some people are willing to forego whatever wealth they do have for the greater common good. But none of these answers are simple, else we would have had them already. It would take a lot of global cooperation, and it would take first an eradication of war. And these things, obviously, as simple as they sound to say and as logical as they seem to regular people, we've never seen it on this planet, unfortunately. So hopefully soon. That's my answer. I'm sorry, it's a little off topic. It doesn't really, but in terms of exploitation, I don't know. I think it's horrible that there's so much economic disparity in this place, in this planet Earth. We're all the same people. We have the same needs, the same desires, the same wants, the same drives, the same goals. We're all the same, and we live so differently. And eventually, it will catch up to us. It's already catching up to us now. It's just some people are less aware of it than others. So, when this answers your question, if not, maybe I can make one specific about free trade. But that's when I read your question. That's what I thought. Thanks so much, and God bless.